Up until recently, most DSLR mirrorless cameras and point and shoots had a time limit of 29 minutes and 59 seconds. At that time, they'd stop and you'd have to restart them. Now you might think it all comes down to overheating or the limitations of the hardware, but it's nothing of the sort. It comes down to a European ruling and the distinction between a video camera and a digital stills camera. In 1997, the Information Technology Agreement came into force and was a plurilateral agreement enforced by the World Trade Organization. It was basically set up to try to reduce the tariffs on IT products to zero, but it did come in stages. Also, I think this is why back in the 90s and the early 2000s that it was cheaper to buy cameras and IT equipment from overseas, due to differing import duties and differing import tariffs. For instance, if you went to one country, there may have been no tariff whatsoever, so they would have been able to sell it a lot cheaper than other countries. So it was a way of getting rid of that and kind of having similar prices across the board. On Friday the 13th of all days, July 2007, EU trade experts decided that to be classified as a digital camera, equipment must not be able to record at least 30 minutes of a single sequence of video in a quality of 800 by 600 pixels or higher at 23 frames per second or higher. Now in reading that, it sounds like it can't go over 30 seconds, or it can't be more than 800 by 600 pixels, or it can't go over 23 frames per second. But in reality, if you actually break down the actual language used in that sentence, if it can't record 30 minutes or over, then the other two are disregarded. And this was kind of a good thing, because if we had all three of those limitations, digital stills cameras would have stayed literally digital stills cameras. So just over a year later, on September the 17th, 2008, the Canon 5D Mark II was announced, which had a little kind of function in it called HD video. And this changed everything. Ever since then, this tariff was in place, which started at a hefty 4.9% on video recorders which recorded 30 minutes or over. And with the release of the 5D Mark II being over £2,000, this would have been an extra £100 on each and every single unit. And with the digital camera market being in the billions, this would have equated to huge expenses for the camera companies. So instead of just paying it, the 5D Mark II came with a hard time limit of 29 minutes and 59 seconds for video. And then this just carried on between then and up to about 2016. Every single digital camera that did video had this limit of 29 minutes and 59 seconds. Although I remember the 5D Mark II originally had a time limit of 12 minutes, and this was due to the 4GB size limit of the FAT32 file system. Now, even though this was just an EU tariff, instead of the camera companies having one batch of cameras for Europe and another batch for the rest of the world, they decided just to do a blanket limit on all cameras they made, no matter where they were going. Now, if we skip ahead a few years to 2015, the Information Technology Agreement was then expanded. So what I'm thinking is that this tariff was lifted on video cameras to include it in the zero tariff limit. However, as cameras tend to be developed over about a 5-year period, only a few cameras have been released without this time limit. Now we don't have any time limits on most of the new cameras coming out. Well, that is, unless you're filming with the Canon R5. Now, if you know any more on this, let me know in the comments below. It'll be great to hear your thoughts, and it'll be great to hear if you know anything that I've missed out. I find things like this really interesting, and even though it's been annoying to have the bureaucracy limiting our technology, finally it has been lifted and we're seeing the results from this. And if you want to learn more about photography, click on this video next. Or if you want a playlist to binge watch lots of videos, click down here. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for weekly tutorials in photography and videography. I'll see you next time.